Hey friends, Jen with the Little Craft Corner, and today we're going to make a really quick little, about a 10-minute card. I'm using the stamp set, A Gift from Heaven from Altenew, because I have a dear friend who is having their first little boy, and what better way than to congratulate them with a little sweet card. So I am going to be using for this little class, this is the stamp set we're going to be using, A Gift from Heaven. We are going to be using Altenew's inks. We have Persian blue. We have polar bear. We're going to be using a little bit of crystal clear embossing powder. And last but not least, of course, the stamp set and just a couple little sequins for the end. So to get started, and of course I forgot the background, which is the fine tool set, Tulle. So this is going to be unedited. I just want to kind of go through the process with you and show you how quick it is really to make this card. So because this stamp set really is, that image is gorgeous. You don't need a lot of distraction from the back. This is going to be, the image is going to be the one to stand out. But I do want to have a little bit. And while I'm really, loving the blending in the back, I didn't want it to be sort of a solid blend. I wanted it to be more broken up. So that's how I decided to do the tool. So getting the card in place, I'm going to take the stencil and plop it on the front here. As you can see, it's a well-loved stencil. There is staining from previous projects, but I guarantee it will not affect your card by any means. And then Altenew has phenomenal blending brushes. I love them. They're soft. They're easy to hold. So getting this inked up, and you don't really have to tap off much when you're doing a blending through a tool, because what will happen is a lot of it will catch right on. I am going to wipe this up just in case, because I had just made a card before I got on here. Starting at the top and just working our way down. I'm going to blend in circular motions. Come up. Come back down. I can already see the beautiful baby blue peeking through. If you don't, if you want to make sure that you have enough ink behind here, don't move your hand from the stencil. Just peek up and notice that you have great coverage. So this piece is done. So now we're going to remove our stencil. All right, so the next thing is, and I had already sort of pre-positioned, I'm using my Misty because this is such a detailed stamp that I did not want to have to, stamp it and then realize that the ink didn't capture an area and then I would have to restamp it, and there's no way I could line that up. So this is the type of stamp that a Misty is a must. A Misty must. That's what this stamp set is, Misty must. So when you are deciding where you want your image, how you decide is, of course, you want it to be centered. Cards like a visual, they want to have like a triangular pattern or a diagonal. So if you think of this as one image, we're going to put another one here and then another one down here, and that's going to create our natural triangle. So I'm just sort of placing where I want the image to be, and once I know that, then I'll be able to stamp. And here I am, literally, this is what takes the longest. It's not that it's difficult. You just want to stamp once and not twice. All right, so I'm pretty comfortable with that. So we're going to line this up and come down just a hair. Now, for those of you who have never heat embossed, if this is your very first time watching one of my videos, the rule of thumb is, because you are putting a very wet ink on a card and you put the embossing powder on, you want the ink to just, you want the powder to just adhere to the ink and not all over the card. So the way we do that is prepping the card base with some cornstarch. I just have it in a little bag, literally self-made with a paper clip. There are lots of products out there. Don't even waste your money. Just get a little cornstarch, dust it on, and you are good to go. So now that I have prepped my card base, it's time to do the inking. One last tip. You may wonder, well, what is the difference between a mixed media ink and a crisp dye ink? Well, that's a good question. The crisp dye ink is water-based and it dries pretty instantly. And because it dries instantly, nothing really sticks. It won't smear right away. Mixed media ink, on the other hand, is a pigment-based ink and does stay wet a tad longer. So when we stamp our stamp image with this ink, we can then instantly put the crystal clear embossing powder on top, and it sort of brings an extra darkness to it. You'll see, it'll make more sense once I go through it. So prep the card base. And now I'm going to ink up our stamp. And again, this is a juicy stamp set. Do not press hard or you're going to have a lot of just, I don't know, mess, gunk in between. And double checking, I'm happy. Give it a nice press. This is where I do my CPR, my arm aerobics here. I'm always pressing on this to give it life. All right, next we have, there you go, gorgeous image. If you want one more quick little go around, if you were nervous that you missed a spot, another dab won't hurt because we have it in our Misty and it's not going. Okay, this is the Misty Must type of stamp. All right, so here's where the fun begins. We're going to take out our card base. We're going to move the Misty away from our workstation. And now we're going to have our, here is our crystal clear embossing powder. Now, I have a tray specifically for the use of embossing powder. Some people have scratch paper or whatever, but this works for me. I am now going to pour it, and yes, I am literally pouring this on the card. It looks like a hot mess, but it's okay. And we're going to tap off the excess. So it almost, you see the powder dulled it a little bit, but it's going to come back to life when I do the heat embossing. So there's many heat embossers out there. I'm going to do this off camera because it's going to be really noisy, but what will happen is all of this will dry nice and crisp, and wait till you see it. It's like magic. Be right back. So I am going to put this on while I'm talking to you because I do want you to see, for those that are new. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this so that you can see it here. What's happening is that this embossing powder is melting and the image is just glistening. Do you see that? I don't know if you can see that. The image literally just popped right off of that page because we did the heat embossing. And that's what makes this so special. You can use whatever ink you want. And just by using a crystal clear embossing powder, it just makes that same ink pop one more layer up. It's just gorgeous. So anyway, let me finish doing this off camera and I'll be back for the next step. Okay, all finished with the heat embossing. I'm going to bring this up really nice and close. Do you see that shine? Isn't that beautiful? And honestly, it is instantly, you can almost, hear it because that's what it crystallizes, it heats up. So dry as can be. So now what we're going to do is it's time to get the image out. So whatever sentiment we're going to do. And it's hard to see it, but I have a blessing is on the way on your new baby boy. So here's where I'm deciding where I'm going to put it. And I do believe I'm going to be putting it up here. And I will put it right above the shelf. It'll give it some interest. All right, so I did chicken out a little bit. I was going to use the good old-fashioned stamping with the blocks, and I thought, oh my gosh, I got this far, and I really didn't want to be that person who messed it up, so I'm going back with the Misty. But the rule of thumb is you want to choose a block that is as close to the stamp set size as possible. So if I was going to do this hand stamped, I would have chosen something like this to stamp. But we're going this way. All right, so putting down the Misty, bringing it back up. This time I'm going to use a crisp black ink. This is a dye ink. It will dry fairly quickly, almost instant, in fact. And this is, you want to go light, meaning don't press too hard. You don't want when it's something this small, you don't want excess ink maybe blurring up the saying. So I'm going to press it gently, bring this back up. And I'm so glad I did, because I did not get a little bit on that O. It's probably still on here. And that is much better. I'm going to do it one more time. Bring it down. There we are. La la. Perfect. All right, that makes me a happy mama. All right, so lastly, we get our card base. And it is time to do the adhering. So I do like a little extra touch. I like to kind of pop things out. I am an inker. I love ink blending. So I'm going to take another blending tool. There's already blue ink on here. And I'm just going to give a little flicking motion. Kind of maybe do some blending on the corner here. This is a nice way to add a little dimension, a little color to your card with very little effort. Very little effort. All right, so here we go. Now it is time to adhere. If you want it, you could certainly attach a little ribbon down here. The sky is the limit. It is totally up to you. Because I told you I'm making a simple card and under 10 minutes, I will omit that part. Now what I'm going to do now is adhere it as soon as I find my adhesive, which was behind me. Turn that baby over, and here's another one of my tricks so we don't waste paper. I had started this card, and I did not like the ink color. It was just too dark. The beauty of making a card with a base, you flip it over, and you didn't waste your paper, and you would never know unless I showed you. So there, that's our little secret. All right, let's get this card adhered. There is no trick to this, just sort of steady eye, steady hand. Bring it down. And there you are. So thank you so much. This is a quick and easy card. Write your sentiment in the middle. I usually put a little piece of white note card in here to make a personal note. You can add sequins if you would like. Whatever you like, it's your card. Thanks for joining me on the Little Craft Corner. Until next time, bye-bye.